starting with some betting talk, Big Ten futures. I don't even know what book this is. I got this because Dylan Burkhart at
Bovada.
UF. Oh, it's Bovada? Okay.
Yeah, don't ask me why I know that.
That's terrifying to me. Bovada has now released their odds for Big Ten regular season champion. And I'm intrigued. I'll just say that. Let's go through the important ones here. Purdue is the favorite, no surprise, plus 220. Michigan State, plus 260. Then you've got a big drop to Illinois at plus 800, Indiana plus 800, Maryland plus 900, Wisconsin 10-1, Ohio State 12-1. Michigan falls in here 8th at 20-1. Northwestern 25-1, Iowa 30-1, Rutgers 30-1, and then you've got the 3 long shots beneath that we don't need to spend time talking about. So, what do you make of this? I want at the end of this segment, I want like you have 3 bets to make, and what are your 3 bets?
But I was gonna say I have an idea for this and how we want to approach this.
How
you have $100? You have $100.
Okay.
You can spend that 100 however you want. You can split it up between 4 or 5 teams. You can put $100 on Purdue to win it all. And that's how I kind of want to look at this. Because I don't want to go out and say the safe pick, I think the obvious thing right here, if I had $100, I put 50 on Purdue and 50 on Michigan State. And I'd feel pretty good about one of those teams winning the Big Ten. And I would win maybe not as much money, but I win a little bit of money. But that's not fun. I want to leave myself $10 left over to sprinkle on something a little bit long shotty, something to make me feel something on a nice February 12th game on Wednesday. I would sprinkle on the Ohio State Buckeyes. I truly would, because I think they have the talent. And I was also doing a little schedule peeking as well. Do not think their schedule is that hard. I think they have some very God, leap years losing it behind me. Sorry. I think that they have some pretty favorable games in there, and I think they have the talent to compete in the Big Ten. And the fact that you can get them at plus, 1,200? I'd be willing to throw like a little $10 on that to go along with my splitting between Purdue and Michigan State. But I think the easy answer here is getting Purdue, the team that won last year and got better this season, at plus 220 is the play.
Okay. So you're the way you want me to approach this is if I had $100, how would I bet it? Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I had $100, I would go to the store and I would buy a box, and then I would come home, and then in that box, I would put every important item that I own. I would put my car keys, my house keys. I would put my social security number in card form. I would put driver's license, identification, passport, everything that matters to me as a person. I would put in this box that I just bought for $100. Then I would drive to, who do I want to use? I don't know who yet. Maybe my father. I would drive to my father's residence, which is now in town, and I would offer up this box with every important element of my life in it. And I would say, here's all these important things I have. I need $5,000 from you, and I'll give you this box as collateral. I am going to take $5,000 and make us both rich, but I need a $5,000 loan. Here's my box of collateral. My dad would say, okay, here's $5,000, son. I'm holding on to your collateral though, and I'm going to ruin your life if you ruin this. I would then take the $5,000 that my father just gave me, and I would put $5,000 on Purdue plus 220 to win the Big Ten. This is ridiculous. Like how is this team 220? I don't understand it. They were so clearly head and shoulders above every other team in the Big Ten last year. They return everybody that matters and also add some splashy things that might solve some of their issues. We've talked about it at length, but the only thing that makes sense to me here is if you truly believe Michigan State is on par with Purdue. You got one at plus 220, and then you got one at plus 260. So Vegas is operating as if this is just like a very close race, and then there's a huge drop off to everybody else. No disrespect to Michigan State. I think they're a great team. I think they're a top 5 team in the country. I don't think it's that close for the Big Ten. I just don't. I think Michigan State is going to have more toss-up games against the middle of the pack teams in this league than Zach Edey's team is. And that's not disrespectful. Michigan State can be really good out of conference. They can be really good in the conference, but they play once this year. It's in Mackey. If I was handicapping this, I would have made Purdue like plus 130, plus 140 at most. I would have had Michigan State more around plus 300. And then I would have everybody else above 10-1. Like, I can't even believe like Illinois and Indiana are 8-1. I think that's horrible value for teams that are really far behind the two at the top. So yeah, that's what I would do. If you want me to consider some long shots, I wouldn't advise doing this because I don't think there's a world where a team that's not Purdue or Michigan State wins this league. But I think the best value of the middle of the pack teams is Maryland or Ohio State. I like Maryland 9-1. I think that team should have better odds than Illinois and Indiana, and they don't. And then I think Ohio State at 12-1 underneath Wisconsin is a little crazy to me. So this does beg this. Dylan, Hoops, made a good point. Like, he wishes there was a thing you could almost like buy and sell your bets, like a stock market situation. Because if I could bet on Maryland or Ohio State being better this season than their odds suggest they should be, and then cash it out in the middle of the season, I would love to bet on that. But there's just no reason to bet them to win the Big Ten because Purdue or Michigan State is going to do that.
I will say the plus 130 to plus 300 Michigan State is a little bit disrespectful, but I understand the sentiment. I agree with you 100% that getting Purdue at plus 220 after what they did last season and for all intents and purposes getting better this season, getting them at plus 220 and them only being, which is like a 40 odd difference between that and Michigan State is crazy.
What do you think it should be then? Like, if my proposed odds were off to you, what do you think it should be between those two?
Well, I think not to be petty, but like if Purdue's plus 130, I think like Michigan State should be within 100 of those odds. So like plus 230.
Okay. I don't hate that.
Yeah. For some reason, the extra, whatever it was, like the extra 170, that just didn't sit right with me.
I don't hate that. I was trying to think like, what would I need Michigan State's odds at for me to bet them? And I think like if it was 3-1, I would think that's good value.
Could also get great odds with my theory that Purdue's not going to care as much about the regular season this year.
Yeah, I mean, it would all come down to Painter getting too cute, like we said the other day. Like, is he resting guys that he shouldn't be resting? But I mean, look, man, they ran away with the league last year. Northwestern finished 4th in this conference last year. Like,
how many games did they win by, like, compared to second place?
I'll look that up. I want to say it was at least two or three.
If it's 2 or 3, are you calling that running away with it?
Yeah. They went 15-5, and Indiana and Northwestern tied for second at 12-8. There were, hold on. There were 9 teams in this conference that had between 8 and 10 losses. One of them was
really bad year last year for the Big Ten.
Well, it's going to be the same or worse, right? Like we just did the whole top 25 players thing, and we're very underwhelmed by everything across the board in this conference. So,
yeah, I think Ohio State will be better. I think Maryland will be better. I think Michigan State will be better.
But that's not, those teams being better doesn't disrupt Purdue being like separated from the pack, though, right? Like if Ohio State's better and they get 2 extra wins against Nebraska and Minnesota this year, that's not threatening Purdue.
See, no, but I think that those teams getting better can affect Purdue. Like those teams being bad, those teams were bad last year in my eyes, and some of those bad teams almost beat Purdue. So I don't know. I think I agree with you. I think we're on the same page with Purdue being, the top tier in this conference. I think you're stretching a little bit too far. Like they're just unbeatable by other teams in this conference.
Not unbeatable. I've said I think 3 losses wins this league this year. I think you got to go 17-3. I think Michigan State and Purdue are both likely to go 15-5 or better, and whoever wins that one game is going to have a big leg up. But like, I think all the other teams are looking at 8 losses or more again. There's going to be a big middle of the pack, so it's really take your pick between Purdue and Michigan State, and like I said, I'm very surprised. I'll be curious. I know it's Bovada. I'll be curious if DraftKings and FanDuel come out if it's similar,
Yeah.
because there's a gap there. There's a small gap.
Judging off Bovada odds, it should be different on others. They're a little quirky with that, I would say. But so before we do move on to the next topic, so you don't think the Big Ten conference is better this year?
No.
Okay.
Well,
But is that because Purdue is better than they were last year?
I should redefine this. I was interpreting that question you're asking right now as if we're looking at it outside of the top two. Like, because I'm taking it in the conversation of is it harder or easier for Purdue to win this league this year? And you can throw Michigan State in there too. If we're just taking the conference as a whole, I think the league is better because I think Purdue's better and I think Michigan State's better. I don't think anybody else, like Maryland and Ohio State, are better. Yeah, on paper they should be. I would hope Ohio State's better than a 5-15 team. Like Maryland went 11-9. Are they 13-7 this year? Maybe. That's a great year if it happens. But like that, to me, the middle of this pack it's all interchange. Like Illinois should be around the same, if not worse, in my opinion. Michigan got worse. Rutgers got worse. Iowa got worse. So all these middle of the pack teams, I think as a whole, are not posing a bigger challenge to the best teams than they did last year. The league goes through the top two. It goes through Purdue and Michigan State. That is what will define this league, both in and out of the conference. And I think it's fair to say the Big Ten is stronger, mostly because of Michigan State's leap that they should take. But no, as far as like threatening Purdue, they're going to have as easy of a time in this conference as they did last year. Like 15-5, what they did last year, I think is the lowest possible outcome for Purdue in conference play this season. And if you're going to threaten them, you better find a way to go 16-4 or better. And Michigan State's the only team that could. But again, a lot of work to do to get to 16-4 for this Michigan State roster.
Got you.
Is that fair, or you disagree with that?
It's because when you explain it to me, yes, like I agree with you, it's fair, but I just don't know. I just think, okay, I guess this is where I'm coming from. I think that Ohio State and Maryland's leaps are not from, because you mentioned that Ohio State was what, 5-15 last year?
Yeah.
That what it was?
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a leap to like a middle of the pack team. I think like Ohio State's taking a leap into like top 4 type territory. So they're going to be like that much better. But that also doesn't challenge the whole, like at worst, those top 2 teams are going to go 16-4 or 15-5, whatever, 16-5, whatever the conference schedule is. But when you just look at it individually on a team standpoint, even though Purdue got better and Michigan State got better, the fact that there are some teams you could pick out that got better, they'll be able to challenge those teams. But then you kind of counteracted that with the whole, you know, the Iowas aren't going to be able to challenge as much as they want to, and the Rutgers aren't going to be able to challenge as much as they want to. So I think I'll still stick with the Big Ten is better as a conference, but also like you're right at the same time. I think we're both right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like there's more teams in that middle of the pack that got worse than got better to me. Like Northwestern's way worse. Like they're gonna lose Audige, and that hurts. Indiana's way worse. They lost TJT and Xavier. Iowa way worse. Lost Chris Murray. Michigan way worse. Lost everybody. Rutgers way worse. Lost their 2 best players. So like that's the whole middle of the pack, and we're picking out Maryland and Ohio State just because. Shit, Ohio State lost their best player. Like,
oh, did they?
Their most talented player. That's what you tell me.
Okay, I was gonna say that was about to warm my heart more than you know.
I'm just saying. We'll see. It's gonna take a special year. And plus 220. Really? plus 220? I'll scoop that up so fast.
Last thing. How many Big Ten teams finish in the top 25 at the end of the season?
2.
Okay.
I won't get cute. I think it's 2.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go 3.
Maryland or Ohio State?
I think one of those 2 finds their way in the top 25.
I think those are the only 2 that could, and Illinois, I guess. I'd say those 5 have a chance, but
does your theory go to shit if like we get 4 top 25 Big Ten teams, or will that just reflect the country not being good?
I think we fall for this every year with the Big Ten. At least we have the last 3 or 4 years. Like they end up with 5, 6 teams in the top 16, and they're supposed to be great and nasty, and then it gets to crunch time and it doesn't happen. And I think we've broken down what the issues are, but I think there's a lot of opportunity in a 20-game schedule in this conference to look better than you are, because you're racking up wins against Minnesota and Nebraska, and there's a lot of winnable games, man. Like if you have a pulse, you should win 12 games in this conference, is how I feel. And there's a lot of teams that don't have a pulse that are going to look like they have a pulse because they scratch and claw. Like Michigan was horrible last year, right? We're comfortable saying that. Horrible team, right?
Yeah.
11-9 in the Big Ten last year. It's insane. Like this conference isn't good, and they lost so much talent. They're not going to be good again. It's on Purdue and Michigan State, and to a lesser extent, the Matthew Meyerless Illinois team. So who knows? Should be fun. Okay. Moving on.